Hello, Alain Dandurand. I want to talk about self-esteem tonight. So there's a difference between self-esteem and versus pride and ego, right? So you could be proud of yourself or proud of what you're doing and have this kind of egoic fulfillment, but it's not necessarily going to make you happy. And if you have a lot of ego and pride, you seem to be in competition with other people, or you think you're better than other people, or you might think you're worse than other people. So the key wouldn't be to obtain pride and ego. The key would be to have good self-esteem. And if you ask yourself, well, what is self-esteem? Basically, what it is feeling good about yourself and doing things to feel good about yourself, right? So if the criminal, if the criminal is always doing crimes, then he's probably not going to feel good about himself, right? But if someone's achieving the goals they want to achieve, they might feel good about that. Or if someone is doing good deeds, they might feel good about themselves that way. So you're talking about self-esteem, and what self-esteem is feeling good about yourself, which has nothing to do with a type of arrogance or ego or egocentricity or pride. It has nothing to do with self-centered. It has nothing to do with self-centeredness, selfishness, or being cocky, smartass, all that stuff, right? It's self-esteem. And when we have good self-esteem, we tend to be happy. We tend to be happy people, right? So if you go around hurting people, or if you hurt people on a consistent basis, you're probably not going to have good self-esteem, right? You're probably going to feel bad about yourself because you're aware that you're hurting people unnecessarily on a consistent basis. So the antidote to that would be to be kind to people, loving and kind, to smile, to be a nice person, to offer to others, right? So we're going to go into the topic of self-esteem. One of the main key issues, a person might not want to hurt anyone, or they definitely wouldn't want to kill anyone unnecessarily. But the person did things in the past that they regret, or they did things that embarrassed them, or they did things that humiliated them. So what happened is that they did things in the past that they regret, right? So we're human beings, and um, the way it goes is that all human beings are imperfect. So let's say planet Earth is the first evolutionary planet. We're supposed to be imperfect beings on the planet. So all the humans on our planet are also imperfect in their own ways. So if we made mistakes in the past, it's not just about correcting those mistakes and apologizing. We have to learn to forgive ourselves because it's normal as imperfect human beings that we make mistakes, right? So the first step would be to forgive yourself and to try to do things better, or to try to behave in a way that's more suitable towards you and that helps you have good self-esteem. And it might be difficult to forgive yourself, but the best thing you could do is forgive yourself. And with that, what helps us to forgive ourselves is having self-compassion, right? That we're not supposed to be perfect. We're trying our best, and everything's working out anyways. You know, the universe is unraveling as it should. So the expression that I use is, if you could have, you would have, you did not because you could not, right? So in the past, if you could have done better, you would have done better, but you could have not done better because it was impossible for you to do better. So that goes with the theory that we're people that have good intentions, that want the best for ourselves, and we want the best for other people. So the expression again, if you could have, you would have, you did not because you could not, right? So if you could have acted out differently in the past, chances are you would have acted out differently. Or sometimes we're just ignorant, we're not familiar with certain things. We don't understand certain things. We're not aware of certain things. And our experience in life shows us what it is. So we become more familiar with the truth or what it actually is, and we could come into a type of a knowing or understanding of what's happening with us, our life, and other people, right? So often in the past we made mistakes because we didn't know any better, and if we knew better, we would have done better, right? So if you could have, you would have. You did not because you could not. It's just that simple, right? And as we experience life more, we gain some wisdom. We know what to do with this and that we didn't know before, and we become more familiar with what the right pathway is and what we should do, specifically our actions, etc. And another thing too is that you could, in the reference to self-esteem, if you did things that make you feel guilty, then you can correct those mistakes, right? And you can stop doing those very behaviors that make you feel guilty, right? And if it happens to be that you're not able to stop doing what it is that makes you feel guilty, then you have to try to find access to some help or some specialist to help you with that. Because the fact is, you have the desire to stop doing things that make you feel guilty, right? A lot of people have the desire to be not just a good person, but to stop doing things that make them feel guilty, but they're incapable alone. They're powerless alone. They need to seek help, a specialist. So there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we just need to talk to a specialist, or we need to talk to someone. We need to open up to someone, right? Because if we keep on doing things that make us feel guilty, then our self-esteem is going to get worse. So the objective is for our self-esteem to rise. But I do believe that at a certain point, you can't really rise higher than a certain amount of self-esteem. You just feel good about yourself. You feel good about your life, and you're happy, right? So, okay. So the question would be, what am I doing that I should not be doing, and what am I not doing that I should be doing, right? So that covers all the angles of your life. What is it that you're doing that you shouldn't be doing, like that makes you feel guilty, or remorse that makes you feel bad, that you should not be doing? What is you're not doing that you should be doing? So what is it you're not doing that you should be doing? This is when you start covering more angles. So it's you talk about your career or schooling or your relationships or what you want to do on your free time, your endeavors and everything. So you're trying to fill in the gaps. What is it I'm not doing that I should be doing? And you could simply take one action. You do like one thing and it changes your whole life. From 1 second to the next, it changes your whole life. And that's what was missing. What it is that you were not doing that you should be doing. So it could be anything. It could be a couple of things that change your whole life. But from 1 second to the next, your whole world could open up, and you could attract what you want, and you could create your life, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so there's two questions you could ask yourself. What am I doing that I should not be doing, and what am I not doing that I should be doing? And you try to cover that, right? You could write it down, whatever you want. Okay, so they often talk about the cliche of self-love and self-compassion, but it really does work, right? Like you would be unable to love others if you don't love yourself. So it starts with loving yourself, and then you could love others. And if you have trouble loving others, it's probably because you're having trouble loving yourself. So the cliche self-love and self-compassion is effective, and it does have a huge impact on yourself and other people. So the projection in your mind or the prayer would be, Can you help me accept and love who I am unconditionally? And can you help me accept and love how I am unconditionally? And can you rise up my self-esteem completely? Because some people, they're not bad people. You know, they have good intentions. They're nice people. They want their life to get better. They want other people's lives to get better, but because of what happened in their life, they have trouble loving themselves, right? Like they could have been abused badly. So you talk about sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional, verbal abuse, and they have a problem with self-esteem. So there's another type of gap there where they're unable to love and accept who they are unconditionally, and they're unable to love and accept how they are unconditionally. But they could get to that point. What needs to happen at that point is that they need to heal all their inner wounds of abuse, right? So it's like in our soul, the depths of ourselves have unhealed wounds, and if you're able to heal those wounds, then you're better set to love and accept yourself unconditionally at all times. So a lot of people, they don't even know what they're worth. You know, it's like they're very beautiful people and they have good intentions and they want their life to get better, but they don't know what they're worth, right? So the best thing that could happen to these people is that the right people come into their life that really love them, support them, guide them, and help them, and that they're steered away from the abusive people, where they no longer have to deal with abusive people in their life, right? So we're talking about self-esteem, right? And it's not just self-esteem for self. There's self-esteem for other people. Like when people get insecure, you can tell them the truth, right? Because as I understand it, fear is always an illusion. So if someone is insecure, they're insecure because they don't know the truth. So if they're open and honest with you and they're expressing their insecurities, you could tell them what the truth is, so their insecurities could go away, right? Like someone could be apprehensive or they could be anxious, and when they talk to you, you can kind of relieve that apprehension and anxiety they have by telling them the truth, right? Okay, so I'm talking about self-esteem. It's not just self-esteem for self, but it's self-esteem for other people. As we work on our own self-esteem, we're more capable of helping other people with their self-esteem. And I really do think self-esteem is such a key element to life, because it makes you happy, it makes you fulfilled, and it's like life is more exciting, it's more fun, and you could talk to strangers, you could go into the occupancies or career that you really want. You're a nice person, a social butterfly, and you have like people with good self-esteem tend to have good relationships. They get along with other people, and they care, right? It's you cannot have someone with good self-esteem that doesn't care about other people, right? And when you do care and when you do love, it has a significant impact on not just other people's life, but your life as well, right? So you talk about self-esteem. The person has low self-esteem because they're drinking and doing drugs too much, right? So they need to get sober and stay sober. Or the person has low self-esteem because they have sex and love addiction. So then they have to stop behaving in ways with their dating life that induces guilt. And they have to stop harming themselves and other people with their dating behavior, right? Or else the guilt's not going to go away and it's going to affect their self-esteem. Like anger. I've had anger problems. And what I noticed about anger is you got to get to the root of it. And what's really happening with anger is inside you're hurting. Someone said something that hurts you. Someone did something that hurts you. Or the situation, circumstance of your life hurts you, right? So when you connect with the real thing, what's hurting you, you're connecting with the truth, and you could kind of roll with that. But if you shield yourself with anger, it could go on and on and on. It could be very toxic. I hate anger. I can't stand anger, and it makes me feel bad about myself. I think anger is very destructive. So then, what would be ideal in that case? You do inventory, right? Like the event that happened, pre-emotion, the emotions you had before, and then what happened, the cognitive distortion, and then you write the right thought and right response. You could do inventory like that, or just normal CBT inventory of the negative thought, the cognitive distortion, and the right response, right? But you get down to the crux of why you have that anger, that shield that you believe that's protecting you, and you get down to the depths of anger, which is we're hurting inside. Something hurt us, right? So my opinion is that we should cry instead of getting angry, but it's difficult to do. But in essence, that's what would be best for all of us, is connecting with what's hurting us, or talking to someone about what's hurting us, and crying instead of getting angry, because anger is very destructive, very toxic, right? And then you have like another, I'm talking about self-esteem again, and reference to codependency. So what codependency is when you search outside yourself for happiness instead of looking within. So we could only find happiness within us, like how we feel about ourselves, what we're doing with our life. It's not other people that are going to make us happy, or it's not like our job or our vehicle. These are just things that we have. Even money is not going to make us happy. So happiness is an inside job, to choose to be happy every day. So the person that has a low self-esteem because they're dependent on others for their happiness, like others' point of view and what others are saying and doing, and how others judge them, how others reject them. So that's like a form of codependency that affects our self-esteem. So we could kind of let go of that codependency and do the inner work. Like, for example, being in solitude. Some people, they always have to be around other people, around their friends, around their lovers, or their working colleagues. But we have to learn to be alone. If we don't learn to be alone, we're never going to get rid of this type of codependency that we have with others, right? So you don't have to spend an enormous amount of time alone, but you have to spend enough time alone to be comfortable with being alone. Also, to know what you want and what you don't want, what you like, what you don't like, what you want to do with your life, the steps that you're going to take to be where you want to be with your life, right? Okay, so you're talking about like doing good things for yourself and for other people, like keeping yourself healthy, eating right, um, exercising, keeping your house clean. Uh, but then there's also doing nice things for other people, like helping other people, offering to other people, um, giving to other people. Like if it's for yourself, that self-compassion, that self-love is very crucial. As cliche as it might sound, it's very crucial for us to do that. So you're doing nice things for yourself, and you're doing nice things for other people, and that makes you feel good, right? And what that is generativity. The word that describes that is called generativity. You're generative. You're like a generator. You're able to offer help, assist, give to other people, and there's a word that's called altruism. And altruism is like when you give to others without expecting anything in return. So that plays out a lot on self-esteem. You talk about generativity, or just simply doing nice things for other people and taking care of yourself in the process. The thing is that, like I mentioned in earlier videos, I believe that the world, for a huge portion of our world, was in a collective psychosis because we believe fear, right? And to me, fear is an illusion. It doesn't exist. It's just something in our mind. So it's like the world is in this like fearful collective psychosis, and the young guys downtown, they want to be gangsters, and and a lot of young women, they tend to be too much on the egoic side, like they're superficial, or maybe they're arrogant, right? So I'm talking about a worldwide collective psychosis where we believe fear, right? And fear is the fearful entity is the example. Like, if you could say something to someone that insults them, why wouldn't you say it? But the fact is like, why would you want to hurt anyone in the first place? Why would you say something purposely to hurt someone else? So I call it a collective psychosis that's happening in the world because we live in fear. We have anxiety, we have paranoia, we have fear, we have apprehension. So we're very fear-based as human beings on the planet. But another reason why we're very fear-based as human beings on the planet is because we're imperfect beings. We're not supposed to be perfect. It's impossible for us humans to be perfect. But because we're imperfect beings, it puts us in fear. Because we make mistakes, we feel bad, we feel guilty. Our life is not exactly the way we want it to be, so we feel bad about that. We might not have we might have to break up with our lover, or we want like another kind of friend. We don't have the career that we want, we're not doing the right schooling. So we're always like we're always in a type of a fearful state, or often in a fearful state, right? Because we're imperfect. If we had all the answers, then it'd be easy. It'd be a lot easier. If we knew what to do with everything, then it'd be easy to do it, but we don't. So that musters up a lot of fear. The problem, when I'm saying in reference to collective psychosis, is we don't have to believe the fear. We don't have to believe the anxiety. We don't have to believe the paranoia. It's going to be okay. We're going to be okay. It's going to work out. And we just have to trust and have faith, right? So it's just like fear is something in our mind. It's not in our actual life. You have a home where you could sleep. You have food. You have clothing. You have a little bit of money for now. I was talking about poverty-stricken areas where people and federations that have more money could offer to the poor and stuff like that. Okay, so when you talk about the element of fear, it's very destructive, right? And it affects our self-esteem, and it affects other people's self-esteem. So we have to overcome this fear, what I call the collective psychosis on planet Earth. That if you make mistakes, it's okay as long as you're willing to change or to adjust, which you have to change and adjust. It might not happen right away, but eventually you're there, and you don't do those things anymore. You don't make those mistakes anymore. You don't do those things that make you feel guilty anymore, right? You might be bothered by what other people say, but you don't have to be. You could think your own way. You could believe what you want to believe. Um, you could live whatever life that you want to live. That it doesn't matter what other people think. It doesn't matter what they say. That you're allowed doing whatever you want and you're allowed thinking whatever you want. Right? It's like you're not here to live up to other people's standards. You're here to create any life that you want, to attract the life that you want, and no one has the right to tell you what to do. People don't even have the right to judge you. It's like any human, like all humans are imperfect. And then the human puts himself in a position to judge other humans, which doesn't make any sense. As humans, we're not intelligent enough to put ourselves in a position to judge other people, right? We could try to help other people, offer, give, and help and assist, but we can't put ourselves in a position to judge other people. It's like some people are saying they're better than other people. I know for some people life is more difficult, but those that have more, it's not because they have more that they're better than other people. Some people are on the street and their biggest problem is getting off crack, like getting sober from crack, and it's very difficult for them to get sober. Maybe there's not, like I was talking about, there's not enough people helping them. So in regards to self-esteem, you have to be careful what you listen to. You have to be careful and not to be too susceptible to other people, what they think, what they say, their judgments, their rejection. Because all that stuff is not personal towards you. It's just other people that are like that, and it has nothing to do with you, right? So you don't have to take it personal. So it's like when you build this inside job, inside you're able to be happy. Inside you're able to have good self-esteem, right? And you do it by yourself. So I was talking about solitude. You have to be comfortable enough alone to be able to do that too. Maybe a lot of people when they're alone they cry, and they need to cry because the life what they experienced was very painful, or they suffered a lot in their life. So then when they come to terms with knowing the truth of what happened and why it really happened, they would heal and they cry when they're alone, right? So you don't always have to escape by being with friends or lovers or going to the bar or going to the club or sex or food or movies or like whatever it is. Maybe like all you do is work, you're just working all the time because you're trying to distract yourself from yourself. You're trying to distract yourself from your thinking, from your feelings, from the situation that's happening in your life, right? My motto for that is when I meditate, I don't think. I like sway away the thoughts before they come in. I don't think, and when I don't think, I stop feeling. So I could just I could just observe things, right? With my eyes closed, I stop thinking, I stop feeling. So if I'm in public, I look at people around me. I look at them in the eyes. I'll smile from time to time. I don't like thinking because I'm a human being. I'm not very intelligent. I don't think any of us are very intelligent because we're human beings on the first evolutionary planet. So like I don't want to think. Maybe I don't know how to think unless I have to plan something, schedule something, things like that, or work out something in my head. Most of the time, I don't want to think, and um, if there's no like use or purpose in my speech, is like why am I talking, right? If I'm talking to someone and there's no reason to say what I'm going to say, then why would I say it? Things like that, right? So I'm talking about my meditative practice, that the fear comes in the mind. The fearful thoughts come in the mind. You get scared, you get anxious. And this is just in your mind and in your tummy, right? This is not actually happening in your life. So, so fear is a component that affects our self-esteem. If we feel unsecuritized in life, or if we happen to lack trust, it does have an effect on our self-esteem, because what self-esteem is feeling good, right? It's feeling good about yourself and feeling good about your life, right? I'm going to check out the time. Taking a little pause to gather my thoughts. So people, what happens with some people is they already have low self-esteem, and they keep on reenacting, recreating situations in their life that keeps their self-esteem at a low level. Like she'll keep on attracting asshole boyfriends because that's the way she feels about herself, and she goes through the abuse over and over again with different guys because she's not able to to make better decisions or wider or wiser decisions. She settles for these assholes, right? So that affects her self-esteem. It keeps it at a low level, right? So she continues these situations in her life that make her suffer, not just her self-esteem, but that make her suffer all in all. She might feel she deserves that, right? That she deserves abusive men or the same type of relationships. So sometimes it's like uh, you have to start from scratch, right? Like your self-esteem is low, but you make better decisions in your life. You make better choices. You try to adjust things, to change things, and then eventually you get there, right? You have the self-esteem that you want. The person, the man is very superficial. He has a lot of money. He's good looking. He has a nice home. He has a really good job, but he's not happy, right? He has this superficial, egoic side to himself. He tends to he tends to indulge in egoic fulfillment, right? But he notices that he's not happy, that he's not genuinely happy in his life. So then what happens at that point, if he wants to be happy or if he wants to have good self-esteem, he has to kind of uh, change his system of values. He has to put more value on other things like self-love, self-compassion, relationships with other, loving kindness, being nice, offering, giving, uh, and helping other people. So when he's able to shift these values, when he's able to shift his value and put value on more significant things, more important things, then he finds this newfound happiness. His self-esteem starts to arising, right? A lot of people, it's the external is very important. How they look and their home and their vehicle and their job, and it's they want to impress other people, but it's inside themselves. It's them dealing with themselves. It doesn't really matter what other people think. Even if you do impress other people, it's not going to change anything in your life. It's like the people don't do the inside job, right? Yeah. So you got all kinds of people that need help, right? Some people, they don't know which schooling to do. They don't know which they don't know which field of study to do. Some people are on the street. They're hooked on crack. They're hooked on heroin. They don't know how to get sober. Some people, they have anger problems. Some people, they don't have enough money. They don't have enough food. They don't have a house. They don't have an ID card. They don't have a bank card. Some people they're incapable of having the job that they want in the workforce. Some people are stuck in abusive relationships. Some people abuse other people. Some people don't know what to do with their whole life. They've been thinking about it for like 3 years. They still don't know what to do with their whole life. Some people are trapped in a family that suppresses them, or they're trapped in a kind of like a company or corporation that suppresses them. They're dealing with glass ceiling. uh, there's excuse me. There's all kinds of people that need different help, right? Like there's so many people we could help. There's so many ways we could help, whether it's in the workforce, in a company, or you're just doing volunteer work. There's so many ways we could help other people, and uh, the more we help other people, the better we feel, and the better our self-esteem gets, right? I see like self-esteem as something very peaceful inside. Like it gives you serenity and an inner peace. And ego is something very noisy, obstructive. When you talk about pride, the person's very proud. They tend to be arrogant. They tend to believe they're better than other people. But self-esteem is very soothing, calming, peaceful. uh, like happiness is, right? Like you don't necessarily have to be like overly excited to be happy. You're just a happy person, right? So there's so many ways. And when I talk about generativity, helping, offering, giving, to people, it's called generativity. So when I talk about generativity, there's so many ways to do that. You could even go in a company that maybe sells the right items and products, which you really believe in. Before you join the company, you find out about the company and what the services they offer, the products, items. It's something you believe in, so you feel good working in that company, right? Or maybe you want to start an organization that helps certain people in different places, different areas around the world. You have a, it's a, there's mental illness, right? People have mental illness, and we still don't have a cure for mental illness. And you talk about cancer and fatal diseases, we still don't have a cure for all the fatal diseases. And you talk about infections, right? Inner body infections. Like a lot of those types of infections we don't have a cure for. So it's like you ask the universe, or your world opens up, and you're putting things together. You're trying to figure it out. You have the right connectivity, and all of a sudden you have a cure, right? You have Eastern medicine, you have Western medicine, you have Eastern treatment, Western treatment. Somehow you figure it out, with the right people. If it's there in the first place, why can't it be removed, right? If it came into existence in the first place, how could we not remove it, right? Most things that are there, if they came to be there, we could remove it, right? So like I'm talking about it, like helping people. I find there's not enough the right people trying to formulate cures for mental illness and fatal diseases. Needless to say, infections. It's something that's been going on for decades and decades and decades, and I find that scary that there's mental illness and fatal diseases, but like it's like the right people that could formulate the cures. It's like they're not even in that job. They're not in that job in the workforce, you know. So he's kind of like you have to get them together or gather them together. I know what I mean, but it's hard to explain what I mean. Like if it's such a big problem in the world, how come in 2026 we still don't have the cures, right? Like if so many people suffered because of that, how come we still don't have the cures for the fatal diseases, mental illness, infection? You know, it doesn't make sense. There's a lot of reputable scientists and specialists everywhere around the world, and how come we're not able yet? You know, it says maybe you have to invest more in this or do more of this, or you use this new substance, this new organic element, you put it together. You know, for specialists to have enough of an understanding to cure fatal diseases, to cure mental illness, to cure infection, right? We've had it for a long time. Mental illness and fatal diseases, we've had it for a long time. And I find it surprising we still don't have the cure, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible, you know. Maybe sometimes we need to be inspired by the whole universe. The universe inspires, and you're able to put something together. You know, it's self-esteem. There's like you know, there's a cup on the ground. You pick up the cup and you put it in the garbage, right? Like you did one good thing today. You're happy you did that, right? You picked up the cup on the ground, you put it in the garbage. Or you say hello to a stranger, hi, or you smile at someone in public. Now you did 3 good things today, right? And it accumulates, it adds up. You say to the person, you have a really nice coat, or you have really nice boots, you know, so you compliment, not ungenuinely, but like genuinely you compliment other people. You know, there's so much, right? There's so many ways when you talk about generativity, happiness, self-esteem. I'm going to take my last pause to see if there's anything left I want to say. One thing like I understand about career and jobs or occupancies, you have to do what you love doing most or it's not going to work. Like you can't go to school and study something you don't want to study, and you can't work in a field that doesn't interest you. Like you can't, like if you get a job in a company and you don't like the work that you do, you're not going to be fulfilled with your career, right? So when I talk about school and when I talk about career and jobs, you literally have to do what you love doing most. And sometimes it takes a long time to get there, but if it's what you love doing most, then that's where you have to be. That's where you have to go, right? That's what you have to be doing. Some people are impatient. Like I've been really impatient to have the life that I want, to be the person I want to be, to have the occupancy career that I want, even like the dating life and relationships. Sometimes it was working out, other times it wasn't. But it's important to be patient, right? Because we don't necessarily decide when it happens, right? But eventually, if you stick to your guns, it's going to happen. So that like when you're doing what you love doing most, it affects your self-esteem. You feel so good about yourself because you're doing what you love doing most, and you're getting income, right? You're getting money for doing what you love doing most. And you talk about academic advisors and career counselors. So the academic advisor and the career counselor, when they have a client or a student, they say, "What is it you love doing most? If you could do anything out of all the jobs in the world, what would you do?" And that pretty much gives the academic advisor and the career counselor a good answer, right? Coming from the student or um, or client, right? So it's like, let's say like the student or client, they say, "I don't know." Then you have to like question them, like, well, like, do you like in this area, what do you like? What is it you don't like? Or in this way, what is it you like? What is it you don't? You kind of like you question them so they could come into awareness and consciousness of what they love doing most. It's a bit funny that some students and clients, they don't know what they want to do. That's where they are, but it doesn't mean they can't figure it out. So your job as an academic advisor and career counselor is to help them figure out what they love doing most, right? So you have to question them about different aspects and areas of their life. Eventually they're able to know what it is they love doing most, and that's pretty much the schooling they do and the career that they invest in, right? It's a lot of people, they have jobs, it pays decent money, but they're not well esteemed about their jobs. They got a hook, right? It's like they had an opportunity, they went for it, and they neglected what they really wanted to do. They neglected their dream, right? Because they got a hook and they went for it. Money. Uh, as I understand it, money is freedom and access, but it should not be the determining factor, right? It's better to do what you love doing most. Somehow it seems to come together. If you're in the right domain or you got the right job, you're going to filter in the right amount of money anyways. So it wouldn't make a difference. Another thing too, people they have low self-esteem because they don't have a boyfriend or he doesn't have a girlfriend. Uh, Maybe it doesn't impact all self-esteem, but it might play on their self-esteem because they think and believe they're not good enough to attract the right person. Um, but the the truth is that the people that they already attracted were incompatible, right? So so the guy and the girl, they deserve to to attract the right person, but they have to know what their compatibility is. It's like, what is it I want? What is it I don't want? What kind of girl am I looking for? The girl asks herself, what kind of guy am I looking for? But even if they do find the right person or the compatible person, their self-esteem could stay the same. And some people, they're not ready for each other until their self-esteem gets better. Then they're able to be in a long-lasting, a serious relationship when their self-esteem is higher, right? But I'm talking about the actual situation where you don't have a lover, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. The actual situation does not mean you're not good enough. It doesn't. Like, what I'm saying is, even if you don't have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, it doesn't mean there's a problem in your life. It just means like for now you don't have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. It doesn't really matter. People think like I'm going to be happy when I find the right person. Not necessarily. You could find the right person, and you're still you. You bring yourself everywhere you go, everywhere you are. You're just you. So whether you have a lover in your life or not, you're still going to be you. It's not going to make a difference. But it doesn't depict something bad about you because you don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I take another little pause. I'll try to wrap it up soon. Okay, so the last part of this speech, when is about imperfections, right? There's this author. Her name is Brené Brown, and she wrote *The Gifts of Imperfections*. And she did a psychology doctorate about human beings being imperfect. So what I wanted to touch up on is that we know our flaws. It's like we know what's wrong with us, but it might be difficult for us to get rid of it. But it doesn't mean like we're not good enough because we have flaws, or because we have defects. Like someone could have like a handicap, and it doesn't mean they're not good enough because they have a handicap. It's a kind of flaws, handicap, defects. It's not a depiction of who we are and what we're worth, right? It's not. So it's to come to terms with that, where you notice all your flaws, you know what's wrong with you, but you're able to be self-compassionate and love yourself anyways, that you're able to love every aspect of yourself. It's easy to boast and to talk about our qualities. It's a bit more difficult to talk about our flaws and what's wrong with us. But when we do find those people we could open up to and be honest with in regards to our flaws and what's wrong with us, they become a good friend, right? And vice versa. They could be open with us. But we're both. There's no one that's just like all good qualities. It's like we have our flaws, and it's nothing to be ashamed of, right? And if people reject you, or they think they judge you, or they think you're not good enough, they're not meant to be in your life. They're not supposed to be in your life, and it's not personal towards you. Eventually you'll find the friends and lovers that'll accept all of you, like all your qualities and all your flaws, right? So everyone has flaws, defects, handicaps, whatever it is, and it doesn't depict what they're worth or what their value is, right? Especially coming from the first evolutionary planet, that's planet Earth. I believe like eventually we grow into higher beings, higher intelligence, that there's other planets, and like alienism and all that. That's my belief. But we're on the first evolutionary planets. Everything is kind of like funky. Everything's funky everywhere. But it's nice too. It's because you talk to someone, you talk to a stranger, and you don't have to hide anything. You could just be open and honest, and they could be open and honest, and as long as they trust you, and you could trust them, it makes a nice conversation with a stranger in public. So it's easy to accept our qualities and everything good about us, but it's more difficult to accept our flaws. But we have to, no, in every moment we have to learn to accept what's wrong with us. It doesn't mean there's something bad happening because there's something wrong with us or because we have flaws, right? Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna leave at that. And my name is Alain Dandurand. The topic today was self-esteem. I love you all. Until next time. Bye.